Greetings and salutations. Happy, where are we at now? Gosh, is it already Wednesday? I think it's already Wednesday. All right. It's a short week for those of us who were able to celebrate Labor Day, but welcome. This is, so where are we at? We're September 7th, and given that we're in the new month, more or less, I thought it was time for another of these monthly Hexcrawling 101, I don't know, chats, AMAs, Q&As, Q and P's and Q's, X, Y's, and Z's, whatever we want. You may notice on the screen here is something you may not have seen, or you may have seen it, I'm not sure. It's called Undiscovered Worlds. I discovered it. I discovered the Undiscovered Worlds, I believe, on Reddit. Someone posted it somewhere. It's a pretty interesting little app. I don't want to say little. I think it's small. I think you just kind of install it and run. It's not huge, I guess, in that sense. Not necessarily little in terms of its capabilities. It is an application for, as you may have guessed from the world, generating worlds. It doesn't have, there are some different apps. I think I looked at, was it Song of the Eons? And there's another one too, whose name I'm spacing out on. If I can remember, I maybe we'll look at that one later too, in which you generate worlds as part of games. And then you can but you can use it, or I think Song of the Eons, I don't know if it was its own game or you were generating worlds for a different game. And anyway, you could use the world generation part, more or less, and kind of ignore the game part if you wanted it. Oh, Krister says my sound quality is terrible. Let me see something, Krister. Hold on. Terrible. Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. How's that? Is that any better? I shouldn't be maxing out the mic, but there's always stuff happens when I move from one setup. So I was in the country, now I'm back home. There's always a little bit of drinking. Okay, good. I'm glad that fixed it. So just to reset, in case it was too horrible to hear, this is called Undiscovered Worlds. I found it through Twitter, not through Twitter, through Reddit. Unlike some other games that have world building elements, this is an app. It is only a world builder. As far as I know, it has no aspirations to be anything more than a world generator. Right, just says, just trying to see a different video. No, it was me. Okay. Yeah, every time I move from setup to setup, because I unplug my laptop and I take it with me, I set it up and I have to add new audio and video stuff, and then I take it and I plug it back in. And sometimes it kind of remembers when I plug different things into it, what's going on, but then sometimes it doesn't. So glad that we caught that early, because actually everything should be, this is my home setup, so it should be sounding as well as I can sound. So Undiscovered Worlds creates maps for you, not hex maps, but it creates, and I think one of the things with these type of apps, they get into more of trying to do more, I think, of the scientific or pseudoscientific or as close to scientific kind of procedural generation. So you get things like trying to use tectonic plate movements and things like that to generate your basically your features. This is one I just generated a minute ago. So a couple of things here to note, and I'm merely kind of have this on in the background. This is not necessarily the point of this stream, is to go through Undiscovered Worlds, but as I'm waiting for folks, or I'm thinking of folks to talk, thinking of questions to answer, or folks in the chat or elsewhere to send me questions, do that. I thought, well, I could just go through this, kind of like I've noodled in other apps before. I'll go through these options. There's really not a lot to it. Brian Smith says they like the weird ridge thing in the ocean. Yeah, I don't know if this is because these are where the plates are coming in, or if this is supposed to be a ridge. You can click on things and you'll get details, but I've noticed that, and this is one of the weirdnesses. If you notice, there's a little kind of turquoise dot here. It's not going where my mouse is. It's kind of going. So I'm not sure if the point I'm picking, it's telling me about my spot or the spot where that dot is. I don't know why they're offset. This is 1,075 meters below sea level. It's a submarine volcano. Okay, so I'm pretty sure. Hold on a minute. What's this? Okay, so yeah, this must be here. So this must be a undersea volcanic chain, which is cool. Maybe if you were able to, fast forward this and go, a couple of million years in the future that some of these might pop up as islands. So you can click on different areas, though. You might need to mess around with your mouse position. It's getting closer as I get off. Closer with your mouse position, you get different things. I will generate a new map. I was going to say, is with this map, it's very simple. You don't have a lot of no controls. You can see here, create a world. You can put in a seed number. I guess you can import, which I'm not sure what that does, if that's importing something from them or if it's importing something else. Or what I will do here is I'll just hit random seed number and then hit OK. And then it's going to take a minute to generate a world. Ooh, there's a question. Brian Smith says that the ritual scene in The Darkness That Feasts, that's the adventure I looked at yesterday, got me thinking about the best way to run a ritual in a game. There's always some rituals going down. What are the keys to making a good one for the PCs? I would imagine that the steps in the ritual. So I guess in terms of the PCs, there are two kinds of rituals, right? The rituals you're trying to get to succeed, which in The Darkness That Feasts, that's that kind of ritual. Basically, it's an exorcism, and the game had multiple steps to the exorcism, and you're trying to. There was a cleric there, an NPC cleric or paladin or cleric. I think maybe a cleric was trying to get this exorcism to succeed. To do that, she has to do 3 rituals. Each ritual, there's basically a chance of success based on however many positive factors for that part of the ritual you can get. And so the PC's job in this scenario is to do enough stuff to help kind of get them over the top or make the roll for the ritual to go through. And then, of course, you have rituals you're trying to stop, which can work in very much the same way, only instead of the PCs trying to make sure that these positive things happen, they would be doing the inverse, right? So the evil cultists are trying to do something, and they've got 5 statues and 5 parts of the room. They want the statues need to be in those positions for the minute or whatever it is to go through the ritual, so the PCs maybe try to stop it. Krister says that they would run rituals in initiative order. Did my video just go out? Hold on a minute. Oop. Hold on a minute. Krister says, I would run rituals in initiative order, have it take a number of turns. Yep, that's just me trying to switch in and out. There we go. Not sure why that goofed up on me. Haven't run initiative order, haven't taken a number of turns with specific things happening at specific turns. Yeah, I think that's a fine way to do it. Initiative is good. So I think with the initiative, I actually like what they did in The Darkness That Feasts, where they break it down into in this overall ritual. So the exorcism is kind of an overall ritual, and it has 3 different, we could call it 3 different elements, 3 different segments, aspects. Each one needs to come. And then you can think about in those aspects what needs to happen and then how long it takes. I think if you're going to run it the way they're kind of running in The Darkness That Feasts, where you're in the kind of gritty detail of it, you don't want it to take too long. So remember, even just 1 minute, it's 10 combat rounds, which is quite a bit. And then the other thing is, so you want to figure out how long it's going to take, and just maybe not have it go on too long. So maybe a minute, because a minute kind of makes sense. And then you think, okay, we're slowing down, and that gives everybody, depending on, 1 minute, 60 seconds. So either 10 turns, we're running 6 second turns. However you want to calculate that, fold that into whatever your combat or sort of your quickest thing, where your initiative sort of mode is, whatever amount of time in those kinds of turns that is, and then figure that out. The other thing is information. So if the PCs are helping the ritual, they're probably going to have good information in terms of what they need to do. You can communicate that. In terms of we have to stop the ritual, you can have some interesting stuff with how they discover what they need to do to stop them. I think oftentimes when they stop the ritual, it just comes down to attacking and killing all the people trying to do the ritual, which I guess works well enough. But I think using this model of, okay, this ritual has to have four different things taking place, and then there's some kind of roll. Or maybe if the PCs are trying to disrupt the ritual, even either side, I could say just get rid of the rolls and just say, hey, if you manage to have all this stuff, it works. If you don't manage to, then it fails, kind of thing. But then you can have some fun with how do they discover what the cultists need, if, especially in circumstances where, okay, so the high priest is way up in some space doing something place, but you can't necessarily get there. But you can see that these cultists are sort of doing other things in places that you can get to. How do you deal with that? And then you get to have the nice push pull, which I think really adds to the tactical things if you're going to have combat in there. Of okay, there's a pentagram in chalk around this thing. Sure, we can just kill cultists, but if we just kill cultists, that's not going to disrupt the ritual. We need to scratch out that chalk and make a gap in the pentagram or whatever, and then stop the cultists who are running around with chalk trying to complete the pentagrams. That adds to, if you're going to have it as a combat sort of thing, that adds to it. Then you can, of course, have something that's not combat at all. Maybe they need to find things. Maybe there's things planted. Oh, there are so many of these, whatever we'll call it. Let's say they were using quicksilver. There are these vials of quicksilver that are placed in different parts of this area. In order for you to stop it, it's not enough that you may go and kill somebody. You have to find those things of quicksilver, and then maybe how do you do that? Which, depending on the level of the characters, maybe they have abilities or spells that can help them with that. Maybe they need to find the map that somebody made to all of them. You can have a lot of fun with that. So I really like what they did, and I think you could really expand upon it, and then just add more or less steps. You want to be careful not having to be too many things, because it just gets kind of, one, it gets long, and then two, I think there's just diminishing returns in terms of what you're doing, and then how much of how much breathing room you give them in terms of what they need to do to succeed or fail. In the case of the darkness, that feast, I think there were 3 elements, and they had to get 2 of them right. So you had to get 2 out of 3, which is great. Sure, you could say, oh, but I want 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 7, but then it's like, it just gets to be a lot, and then every time you're rolling, you're potentially rolling those. It just, I think the more chance and the more randomness you insert into these, with the more steps you have, just the more times something maybe unexpected in a bad way can happen, in a not a productive way, in a way that's not satisfying to anyone. Let's see. Krister says it's always fun to have challenges that aren't combat, some sort of puzzle PCs have to complete to stop the ritual while it's happening. Look up the board game Mastermind. That they've used that in D&D. Yeah, I think board gaming stuff is good. The new D&D. Yep, there's a ritual. That's right, Brian Smith. There is a ritual in the new D&D starter set. Yeah, I think, Brian Smith has said time limit, number of successes versus number of failures, escalating dangers progresses. Those are all good. I mean, I think the number of, I think I like the concept of having, like, okay, there are 3 elements. If you get 2 of them, you're fair enough to succeed. If you miss 2 of them, you fail. There's a nice push and pull, especially if you end up with the bad guys have gotten 1, the good guys have gotten another 1. Now you get to that last one, and it's on, and that, and both sides maybe have exhausted some resources and taken some casualties, but it's super important that whatever it is you have to do to figure out of this one, and by having these, and what I like that the Darkness at Feast did, that I would also do, is each of those segments, or each of those elements they did do, was thematic, right? I think theirs was earth. Was it like air, wind, and fire, or air, wind, and earth? And of course, you could make those even more thematic into whatever else is going on, and then that can play into elements of the place that you're in, what's happening. You can really sort of embed that in everything that's going on, so that you could give out hints earlier, or different clues almost earlier in your adventuring or campaigning, and then you can kind of bring it all together. Oh, we got this weird thing, this kind of pearly sort of mineral we've been holding on to. We're not sure what it's for. Now we talk to this person about this ritual, and it's like, oh, we have that, or oh, like, we got to do this with that, or something. You can just come up with some neat things to do it, and or you could, you could also, which I don't know if Brian Smith was intending, but sort of implying to me, kind of a skill challenge kind of setup. Okay, tell me how you're able to use your skills to do this or that, the other. You could also kind of do that if you wanted to shorthand it a bit. Brian Smith says they're trying to list out those common epic scenes in fantasy fiction. The epic ritual is definitely one of them. Maybe another might be the epic duel or something. Yeah, I think the epic duel is a good one in terms of the I guess, common scenes. Just remember, we have to keep in mind you're playing a group game, whereas often those will come down to a single hero type who is facing off, and that works if you just have one hero. If you have one main hero, that works. But in a D&D scenario where you have 4, 5, 6, 7 heroes, yeah, you could just do a big schmoz with 4, 5, 6, 7 anti-heroes or bad guys. And I bet you could probably do that if you could pull it off, do it well. It just means you have to develop all those different villains. When usually we think of the big bad evil guys being one, you know, one evil being. So it's either everybody against the one, which is a common thing that happens in the game, or in terms of fiction, usually comes down to kind of a mano y mano. You know, your Robin Hood versus the Sheriff of Nottingham, or Prince John at the end of all that kind of thing. Or you can even look at Frodo versus Gollum in the volcano at the end of Return of the King, or all these kind of one person against one person. So the only thing I think about is, okay, if we got to modulate that into a group, and what most often happens, you end up with group versus one, which works fine. In terms of OSR play, I think it works better than in, say, 5th edition or something where the action economy plays huge, because it can be difficult to get if you're trying to, if you're really trying to get the kind of, like, I really want this to be the challenge on a meta level, it can be tough. And an OSR game doesn't matter so much because we're not really worried about that. Or it's something where there's that kind of twist. Whereas if you have the ring, or you have the sword, or you have that item, the Maltese Falcon, then you kind of just win. In which case that it's kind of just a setting, a fiction sort of thing. You don't need to really play out the encounter, because it's just like, okay, you've got the ring, you've got the rod of 7 parts, you've got the whatever, the MacGuffin. So that's basically you win. Yeah. I mean, it's cool if you can set up a whole crew. I know that's something that when Mal Colville, when he was running his kind of longer campaign, he kind of had set up these guys to be sort of the anti-player character party that could kind of face off with them. And I think it works. I think it worked pretty well. I mean, I remember just one combat where they say that they had just showed up for the first time. So this is the first chance that these two kind of competing mirror images of each other had met. It's just something that maybe if you have a long campaign, you can plan that out so you can give them some kind of depth. If I have the 7 heroes, maybe I'll have these 7 sort of horsemen of the apocalypse kind of setup. I think it's just asking a lot of your GM. It's hard enough for folks to get one person, one sort of enemy built up and made meaningful. Because you definitely want, I think, at the end of your campaign, if it's really going to be a climactic battle, you want it to have some deeper meaning and deeper resonance than just 7 guys show up. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. Westman says they had a bar brawl breakout in a session. It was insanity. I'd like to write a couple of notes for themselves that happens again. Maybe a DC for moving against the crowd, etc. Like in Pathfinder 2nd edition. Yeah, Pathfinder had some cool rules for stuff like that. If you want to check out Insanity, Brian Smith, go back and play the classic computer role playing game. I think it was based on 2nd edition. The first one was a Pool of Radiance, and they had some other ones. I think there was one, it might have been even one was Pool of Darkness, and there was one Curse of the Azure Bonds. But the big thing was it had turn-based combat, which worked really well. You would move your little guy around, and it was turn, so you could really do all that stuff. But what could happen was you could get into a bar brawl, and then you end up with like 20 or 30 different units, characters, creatures moving around the ball. And granted, you could speed up in between turns, but even then, it could just take forever. And then each thing you're just trying to do like a move, and then you're waiting as like 30 other things it's thinking and going through all that. That was I think you do that kind of once, and then you remember, and then you hopefully remember, oh yeah, I never want to get into a bar brawl in this game ever again. Okay. So Krister's mentions Death Knights of Krynn, Dark Queen of Krynn, Gold Box games. Yep, I think the Krynn ones came up later, I think. I don't think I played all those either. I definitely, Pool Radiance I played, I remember got through, and I really liked it a lot. But, I'm talking pure nostalgia. I have no idea what it would seem like now to play it. But back then it was pretty neat, because it really was as close as you were getting at that point to playing kind of a D&D game. I think Krynn is Dragonlance, Brian Smith. All right, so while I await more questions on stuff, and I should see if we can get Pool of Radiance or something. So here I just generated a random map in Undiscovered Worlds. We see this one's very island-based, island-oriented. We got all these different locations. We can zoom in. I forget how to do it. Let's see. There's this. Please wait. It's generating the region. It's a little bit slow. I don't know if this is my PC slow or what. I can't even see where I am. Where am I supposed to be here? Hold on a minute. This worked better last time I tried this. Okay, there I am. Can I drag this over now? No. Now I'm way over here. Weird. Where am I now? Okay. Let's see. So if I go up. Oh, you're thinking. Okay, I'm in here now. All right. So you can see this. You get a nice. I think the one thing. I mean, there's a number of things that I'd love if see if they tweak coming on. Of course, one thing is there's absolutely no scale hill. I have a scale here. I have no idea if this major river. We're looking at this kind of river area here with lots of different branching rivers, offshoots of the river, which is cool. We don't, and I'm not even going to get into whether these are joining the main river or coming off of the main river. It doesn't matter to me. I do not care. But I can't tell. I'm guessing if these are mountains and things that maybe, let's see, that is a 1,282 meters above sea level. Okay, so then what's this? So we don't have we have no idea of how big that is, I guess is what I'm saying. A handful of hexes, Brian Smith says it might be a handful of hexes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Certainly these kind of peaks. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if this judging from the size of that peak versus the size of this would seem to be a major river, which is fine, Danny. It'd just be nice to know, and we don't know. Hey, Gashman. Okay, so another question from Brian Smith. 2 illustrations away from completing a art challenge. They drew all the humanoids for 5th edition. No plan for what to do with them now. Do with them? Any ideas? You drew all the humanoids from 5th edition. Well, Brian Smith. Let's see. What could you do with them? You could. So if you wanted to just stick within 5th edition, you've already drawn these humanoids. You don't want to come up with whole new things. You could maybe write up a little bit about something of them. Maybe write a variant of them and put it up on DM's Guild. That way you don't get burned for using all this IP. Or you could tweak them up so that they're maybe, if they're obviously Wizards IP, you could tweak them a little bit, make your own things, and put them and make your own little. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of like, well, do you want to do something for your own usage, or is it something you want to do something and kind of make a publishable thing? You could create a little world and stick them on there as your humanoid species. You could, like I said, depending on how close they are to Wizards IP, you could either use Wizards IP and make up variants, or you could just make up your own, throw it up on DM's Guild, a collection of alternative humanoid races by the great Brian Smith, old school essentials. Yeah, you could, if you go on the OSR, you could, I mean, you don't even need to. I mean, you can attach it. I go back and forth on how valuable it is to attach your creation to a specific flavor of OSR, whether you get more eyeballs on your thing if you attach to OSC, or you attach it to, Into the Odd or Troika or something. Like, I don't know. But yeah, you could come up with your own alternates there and either do them as, race as species as class, or you could just make up your own species kind of things, depending on which system you end up doing it. OSC, you could do OSC Advanced, which I think is the kind of AD&D. So you have separate species and classes. And this is a hibiscus iced tea for the working man. You could put them up as stock art for anybody else to do whatever they want. Also, would be an option. Fluffy the Griffin, hey Fluffy, says that Hex is 3 mouse cursors across, perhaps. I could see that. So we have this map. Now, this is part I actually haven't looked at yet. But what you can do then is it doesn't look like you can export from here, but you can see this is the relief map. You can see we get an elevation map, which in this case doesn't give us much because there's not a lot of differences in elevation, but you can actually see slightly little things. We also get temperature, which of course isn't going to make a whole lot of sense here either. Precipitation, climate, and then of course you get the rivers. I don't know what these green parts in the rivers are. Maybe it's this could be where you might have wetlands. It's not really explained. If I put a cursor on here, would I get it? Where, let's say, put on some wetlands. Is that wetlands? Climate, dry, winter, humid, subtropical, wetlands. Oh, it is wetlands. That's cool. So you can get all that stuff. So you can go back to the world map. And then you could save your world. I thought there was, where's the export? Hold on a minute. Ooh. So what you can do is you can export your maps down here. The screen allows you to export maps the same scale as regional maps, but of larger areas. Click on the map to pick the corners of the area you want to export. So let's try this. Let's say I like this central island. Is my cursor going to follow? No, it's doing. Damn it. Area is too large. Hold on, clear selection. All right. I don't know why it's goofing on my mouse. Wait a minute. I have to just do this. Oh. Okay, here we go. Area's too large. Still too large? Damn it, Jim. All right, and then I can click export. Let's see. No, I don't want it in system 32. What are you kidding me? What's the matter with you? All right, I won't actually export this. So you can get that. Got some cool stuff in here. I'll generate another one just to see. But basically the idea is you can take these different, so what you can do is, and I haven't really tried this too much, but depending on your use case for this kind of map, is you could export something like this and then bring it in as an underlay or background image in something like Wonderdraft or Hexographer, Worldographer, or your mapper of choice and do that. Another thing you can do is you can't export your height maps, basically. Though I did try the height maps once. Hey Phil. I did try the height maps once and it didn't. I think the scaling of the changes in height maps here didn't work with the kind of changes. I'm not sure how they're doing it, but I think I tried to pull it into fractal terrain and it didn't come across right. I might even have tried it Wilbur too, and they just came off as funky because if you look at a lot of height maps of other things, there's more of a gentle gradation, whereas here it's very steep. And this light color here isn't even the land. I don't think. I think it's actually it's the shallows into the deep, and it's very very cut off. But then the difference between the shallows and the land is not that much. So we look at here, it's really, I mean, you can even kind of hard even to see it. So you get some weird, I found it just didn't come across very well. Maybe they're, maybe they could tweak that. How they figure out how they're using those grayscale values. I think also that fractal terrains, and I hope I didn't miss it, or not for myself, but for folks in here, I think fractal terrains, there's either a humble bundle or something else, and they've just come out. I guess I'll go there now. So I'm going to be done with Undiscovered Worlds. So that's Undiscovered Worlds. I think you can search for it. I'll try to find it, but let me pull up Fractal Terrain because they came up with this. I missed it when they came out with this new one. There is now something Fractal Terrain 3 Plus. And you can do all kinds of fun stuff. I will do a new world. Synthetic world. You could set this peaks, which this is basically your Earth-like planet. And then you finish. Oh, is this the same one I did? This might have been the one I did. This is before I did rivers and stuff. So you can see here you have your whole planet's worth of terrain here. Ooh, so I got all this. Ooh, Nelly. Let's see if I forget the commands here. The one thing I find is it's kind of got these AutoCAD kind of commands. I find that I find the ways to navigate stuff and look at stuff. They have a very idiosyncratic way, in my brain anyway, of doing things in the campaign cartographer. This is so Fluffy the Raven. This is Fractal Terrains 3 Plus, which is part of the campaign cartographer, the Pro Fantasy suite of world building softwares. It's kind of one of the OGs. It's essentially a front end for CAD. So once you get into, I don't know about Fractal Terrains, but campaign cartographer is, which means it's all basically vector based, which makes it supremely powerful in some ways, but it's kind of clunky. You really have to learn how to do things their way of doing it. And I don't find it very intuitive for myself. So Fluffy, you may have access to it. If you ended up getting Fractal Terrains, they was at Fractal Terrains 3 for probably the last, I feel like 15, 20 years. I mean, I don't know, it's been a long time. But they came out with this 3 Plus recently. And I don't know, well, I suppose we could go there and check it out. Let's go there and check it out. I don't know everything in terms of what they've fixed. Let's just go check it out. So we have Campaign Cartographer 3, which has been out forever. And I like to dabble with it now and again. I really would like to use it because it is super powerful in many ways, but it's just so hard for me. I every time I want to go learn it, and I don't quite get to it. So we have Fractal Terrains 3. Where's 3 Plus? Because I know there's... Hold on a minute. See, the other thing is their site, it's old. Where's their stuff? Hold on. Come on, Frat. I'm trying to... Wait. Are you going to make me search the internet, Pro Fantasy? All right, let's try this. Fractal Terrains 3 Plus. Okay. So this is actually from November, almost a year old. That's if this is on Angel Fire. Yeah. And then Fluffy the Griffin says, yeah, they're still rocking that Web 1.0 look. Yep. They're waiting for it to come back in style, right? So this is their announcement, and I only came into this recently, obviously, because look, this was from November 16 of last year. We're happy to announce a new version of Fractal Terrains 3 Plus. Joe Slayton has been hard at work to update Fractal Terrains with a 64-bit core, greatly improving the speed, the editing detail of his world-building tool, while adding more functionality and ironing out various kinks. This version is a free upgrade to Fractal Terrains and available from your registration page among the other Fractal Terrains 3 downloads. As it is 64-bit software and uses a different setup architecture from FT3, it's a completely new install. So here are the kind of things that are added. There's this one-day world builder has some fun stuff, basically using Fractal Terrains along with this free app called Wilbur to create some maps. It actually works pretty well, and I had run it on that other one. It's a lot of steps, and I kind of would love if they saw that, oh, hey, by the way, to do this world builder stuff, we have to use all these tools in another app. Why don't we bring those in-house? Maybe they will. But you can add some export settings for your Campaign Cartographer Plus 3 style, so you can get your Mike Schley map style on. Fixed river generation. It's got some other things. Fixed some crashes. Got some visual elements. Got color key. Explicit coastline map now available. Etc. Etc. And then let's see. This is for, I guess, maybe the original. Yeah, their first one just faster calculation rendering, single app look, better output. You can use some different things. So one of the things you can do here is you've got all these different layers. You can add your, you can change your projections if you want to. You can do all this stuff like, so what you can do here is it's all, I don't know if it's technically vectors, but it's basically, you can come in here. These colors are, by the way, these colors are elevation. So you can play with the elevations you want to. You can use, you can basically pull up a random thing like this, and then you can start drawing over it to raise and lower stuff, doing all that kinds of stuff. You can use all these different overlays. You can add an overlay. I don't know, what is this? Of different things. So you can import different overlays to use on top of it. Let's see. It does give you, I think this does give you, so you can see the view properties where you get some things about the rainfall and temperature. It doesn't give you biomes. I think that's kind of up to you to do yourself. It's got a lot of stuff going on. It's just not particularly user friendly. And then you're not going to be able to, so the one thing with fractal terrains is it's not complete in and of itself in terms of world building. It's, you're going to take something from this and you can export this into a number of things. Multiple files. You can use save as also, I think, brings up all these different types. So you can pull that for Wilbur. I think it actually, it's weird though. They have this Wilbur file, but they actually, when they go through the thing to import into Wilbur, they use this special MDR file to use instead. You can export height files. So if you want to use something like this to come up with your height map, you can then take that height map and enter it into something else. Again, something, say, Wonderdraft, or another, if you have another type of app that takes in height fields, you can do that. But there's a lot of powerful things in here, and then you can do things. It's got all these tools for doing things like painting craters, painting, raising and lowering terrain, adding your rivers, doing, different some sort of erosion type effects, so on and so forth, adding lakes, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of good things here. Love the Agreement says, not user-friendly as Pro Fantasy's MO. So not surprising. That's the weird thing about it, or a fascinating thing about it, right? Is Star Wars has been around forever, and they really have not tried to update that the user interface, user experience part of it. I think actually this is them trying in some parts, but yeah, especially getting the campaign cartographer, and the thing is that it's so well supported in terms of if you need graphics, different styles of graphics, importing your own. And again, being that it's essentially using CAD, so it's all sort of vectors. It gives you great ability to zoom in, zoom out, pick different pieces of your map, and go in there. But yeah, it's so, at least for me, and I think for a lot of folks too, it's so unfriendly, and other apps have just really just lapped it in terms of that user interface, even though they're not as powerful. Because something like Wonderdraft, as nice it's not as powerful as Campaign Cartographer, not by a stretch. But it's so much easier to use that it almost doesn't. At that point, it's almost like I'd rather use the more limited Wonderdraft that has a lot more, that's much more intuitive for me at this stage of the game to use, than to use something super powerful like Campaign Cartographer that I find it just takes me hours and hours to figure out, and frustrations to kind of get things done. Oh, the Griffin says, they say AutoCAD on Windows 98 decided to ride that into the ground. Yep. Oh, so I know there was a question here about, let's see. So Brian Smith asked, are there any good books I'd recommend? I don't know if I have a good book I'd recommend, but I actually was going to mention this, and I might as well. Let me go back to my browser. Figure out where my windows are. I was looking back at the Humble Bundle, and that's because it reminds me I can go back and see if indeed Pro Fantasy stuff is still on the Humble Bundle. If it wasn't on, hold on. We got Maps Spectacular. What's this? Oh, this is it. Okay, so this is, it's running, it's leaving soon. So how much is it? Oh my God, this is pay what you want. Wait a minute. Oh, $30. So I would say, as unfriendly and as whatever, as Campaign Cartographer is, it's worth $30 to grab all this stuff. Does this give you Campaign Cartographer itself? So you get okay. So you get campaign cartographer, dungeon designer, city designer. Do you get fractal terrains? Oh, they're not. Are they not giving you fractal terrains? Oh, well, I would still say. So this is up. It's only up for I don't know how long, but that's actually what I was thinking of. The map spectacular. What is this? Minutes or seconds? Minutes, hours. So it's about a day left. So if you are interested at all in this campaign cartographer system, want to check it out, for $30, you get a craptacular ton of combat. I mean combat content. You get the apps, the three main apps. So you don't get fractal terrains, but that's okay. You get campaign cartographer, dungeon designer, city designer, and then a bunch of these different collections of things, fantastic landscapes, exotic locales, alleys and avenues. They're all things for city, your town city maps, and then for your cartography maps. Then you can get some more stuff. Get a whole source maps about castles. You get fantasy floor plans. I mean, just on and on and on, including modern mapper, which I think is just more resources. Because the cool thing with the campaign cartographers, with those tools, I guess with the three kind of related apps, you can do your dungeons, do your cities, do your world. So certainly a good deal if you're on the Humble Bundle. Play the Grimace says Wonder Draft is their favorite. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I have no problem with Wonder Draft. I like it. I'm probably not as expert at it as maybe I would like to be. I'm just not in it that much because I tend to do Theater of the Mind, so I really don't. I don't need to draw a bunch of maps. But I've enjoyed dabbling in it. I have Dungeon Draft. I haven't used it so much. Those I find more difficult. I think it's because you have to do the wall. I don't know the way they have the floors and the walls. Let me know I'm thinking of Dungeon Draft. I remember when I did that that 3-dimensional one. It's always kind of throws me for a loop. Because I think there's just something just simple about just being able to draw your boxes and go. And then sometimes when you're drawing the overland maps in the apps, it's kind of the same way where you just get to paint here. Oh, I'm going to put some forests here, some trees here. Once you start having to worry about doors and walls and making them all link up and do the things you want to do, it end up being a lot more fiddly with having to rotate things to fit or picking the right, depending on the app, the kind of corners or bounds, or are you painting the floors by themselves and then you come back in later with the walls, or do you paint them as, I don't know. You just get more, they get more complicated in a way that makes them less friendly for me. Okay, so what I was going to check also, so I was going to mention, and I haven't done this yet, but I was thinking about buying this one. It seems like it'd be pretty cool. Probably Overkill. Oh yeah, by the way, 15 days left if you do want to check out Pathfinder. Bushcraft Survival Guide. This seems like would have a lot of fun stuff for your hex crawling, your adventure stuff. It's going to be overkill, right? But you can, I think you could either end up down some rabbit holes, which may be wonderful, but maybe long, or you could find some nice tidbits to just inform the flavor a little bit. Because, like, I'm going to be honest, I've done a little camping, but mostly just overnight sitting in one place, not camping, moving. I don't know a whole lot. I'm basically taking the rules kind of that were given, and I sort of, get a feel from there. But if you can learn from somebody the kind of things that it takes, for example, all this survivalist stuff. So in this case, this book is all about teaching you how to do stuff, but it seems like that stuff could give you some good ideas for what are the stuff you have to do generally. Like when we say you need to take something simple, right? We say, okay, we're gonna camp for that. We're gonna establish our campsite. What does that mean? What is that actually for? What are all the things that are entailed in creating establishing a campsite? I don't really know. Okay, I guess in terms of you're trying to be safe, so you're trying to find a place that's moderate concealment, and then you're gonna kind of maybe find some stones to put around your fire, make a little fire pit or fire area, presuming you're gonna do that. Grab your kindling, put up your tents, if you even have tents, kind of, that's basically it. But this, I could read through this and get a good idea, even in terms of just establishing in my mind, well, how long do all these different tasks take? Is it 10 minutes? Is it an hour? Even if you have 5 people doing it, right? Does it take more time? Is it a 2-hour job? It's just to be informed. And then if somebody says, if we establish in our rules, okay, campsites 2 hours, and somebody goes, yeah, but is it 2 hours? And then you can say, well, these are all things that you guys are doing. Everything that's abstracted in this, when you just say, I'm establishing my campsite, here's all the individual tasks that you guys are accomplishing. So yes, it takes, 2 hours or an hour or whatever. Brian Smith says, oh, hell yeah, bushcraft survival. Oh, Brian Smith made themselves a bench and tripods railing last time they went camping. It's so fun. Yep. So this one, and now this one, this Humble Bundle, not only you get bushcraft, I feel like I'm the Humble Bundle salesperson. Welcome to the Humble Bundle sales channel. Not only do you get bushcraft 101, but on top of that, pay at least $15 and you get in addition to Bushcraft 101, the Bushcraft Field Guide to Trapping, Gathering, and Cooking in the Wild, an advanced bushcraft, an expert field guide to the art of wilderness survival. And there's more bushcraft first aid, a field guide to wilderness emergency care, which, by the way, would also make a good thing for when you're coming up with what you want, maybe your first aid or whatever your bandaging techniques. You could definitely use that. You also have survival hacks, things to see night sky. So I think I'm definitely going to buy this. Some of the stuff is kind of your, if you're more of a doomsday prepper type, or like, yeah, you're into tiny homes, or, make your house disaster ready. It's not all gems for me anyway, but look at this. Weather 101 sounds awesome. Everything wild game. I mean, get some recipes out of that for what people are eating. Hey, how to grow marijuana. I mean, sure. Modern day pioneer, some of these things again, improvised weaponry. Hey, look, who doesn't like improvised weaponry? Living off the grid, all kinds of knots. That's kind of cool. Canning and preserving might have some interesting stuff. So there's a lot in here. A lot in here that you can see. And so, yeah, you get a whole bundle. I was actually thinking about buying that before the stream, and I just didn't have a chance. But yeah, I think that would definitely be something to plug into and look. And those are always the kind of books I always find fascinating. Kind of like those medieval life books they have. There's a whole series of books like, medieval life in the village, medieval life in the castle, medieval life in the monastery, that you can get some really good, just kind of factoids and insight, and just a way to add just a little bit extra flavor if you want into your game, or just, whatever. They have all kinds of, I just find it's just filled with fascinating details. Ian says they give Humble so much money, but you get a discount. Yeah, I haven't really bought any games. I'm only buying the books and things. But this is definitely a good deal if you're looking for some survivalist stuff. Did I miss anything else in the chat? Oh, Terrence says maybe somebody will come up with an art AI that just lets you draw in room shapes, pick a theme, and it fills the rest. Don't they ever have that? Yeah, isn't that Dungeon Alchemist? Yeah, I know there's an app out there that I gotta look at, either just get for myself, that does that, filling the rooms. But I think I mentioned before, the only thing is that is it's gonna fit the theme that I want. Like, how many different themes are there for those rooms? Or am I always gonna get just kind of generic fantasy fillings? But I don't use them. That's the other thing, is I guess I would feel more strongly about the stuff if I actually used them, but I don't. Just out of curiosity, what other books in the book bundles? Some programming ones, graphic design, full stack web development, more pie, chef's kitchen. Oh, I might have to check out. Not for this stream, but I might have to look at the Star Trek comic collections. What other softwares do we have? So maps, Unity tools, effects and music, and masters. Okay, so just the maps. And I suppose while I'm looking at this stuff, what's the other one? It's what, bundle of holding? Is there anything going on over there? Chaos Rising is still available for another 5 days. DCC Essentials, also 5 days. What's True 20? Green Ronin D20 based tabletop role playing. I'm not really familiar with True 20. Let me pull up Steam, see if I can find that other game that I think it had it on Steam. Methinks I had it on Steam. No. Where are you? Did I? There's Tailspire. I thought I had it on here. I guess I didn't. No, I guess not. It's just Tailspire. Oh well. Is it Fate of the World? Oh, this might have been it. It might have been Fate of the World. So I didn't have a chance to install this, obviously, and look at it yet. Um, or maybe I did and I uninstalled it for some reason. No, that's not this. Nope, it's something else. I thought I had it. I thought I had plugged it in. Maybe I didn't. Oh well. There's another app. You know what? Hold on. One other. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. There might be one other place. Let's see. Did I save something that talks about it? Okay. Undiscovered worlds. There it is. Orbis Multiplex. Let me see. I thought I installed it. Yep, here it is. Orbis Multiplex. Parents, you're stealing TP from work. Levels of poverty. That's rough. I mean, and I don't even mean the quality of the TP, because most offices don't spend a lot of money on nice quality, soft, supple TP. Did this thing start, or what did I do? Are you doing something, Orbis? Well, let me just play the video. So basically, you can set up this terrain, and it generates a world from you, and you can do, and then it's got some things about highlighting the areas. Now, the problem, I don't think this one has any exports yet. I think this might be one where people are screen grabbing it. But it is an active development. And it does have some interesting, and it also uses hexes. I think if you zoom in enough, you get hexes. Why isn't, how come Orbis didn't like work? What's the deal here? Here we go. All right, so you can generate a planet. See here, I do like this because we get a lot of different, or at least some different options. I don't know what they do. I mean, I don't, what I mean is, I'm not sure, is 100 ecosystems a lot? Is it not? I don't know. I'm just keeping theirs basically the way it is for right now. We'll hit generate. Loading, please wait. See, and here we're getting, it's doing all the stuff in these hexes. It's going through, creating tiles. Landscape evolution. And there we go. And this one's following my cursor properly. You can zoom in. How do I get it to rotate, though? Do I have to use my arrow keys? Okay, there we go. So we can see here, we've got these different continents. We have, I like this, that it gets the kind of band of, I guess, kind of desert. That kind of zone. Lots of, I guess this is mountaintop. I think, let's see, what are these different views? That's that one. Well, that's just different parts. I don't think I get different views. That's just your elevation. You can get the grayscale elevation. So we get all those different, you get your precipitation, temperature, moisture, solar irradiance, if you need that, hydrology, the water flow. That's pretty cool. Groundwater. Darren says Hex World. It is definitely Hex World. Oh, you even get biomass, flora and fauna. So yeah, you get a lot here. You get a lot here. Well, it is a cool generator. Yeah, it is cool. Like I said, the only thing you don't really get out of it, and you can put a grid on it if you want, is I don't know how to export out of here. And I remember that was something that had been, I think they mentioned to the creators, like, are you going to have some kind of export going on here? Because this is really cool. If you could flatten this out or get some different ways to get some of these projections out of here, and using, being able to use your height map, slope, sediment. I mean, you get all kinds of stuff. There's just, I don't know what the way is to get it out yet. So you can take a screenshot, but not a way to get a better export than that. And then I don't think there's a way to flatten it. Don't think there's a way to flatten it. Brian Davison asks, what is the scale? Miles per hex? I don't know. I don't think it says how big there are. Yeah, that's nothing. There is no particular. That's a real big blob of ice. No particular. Ooh, you can really zoom in there. We got the tile area. I suppose we'd have to. So if you get at your calculators, abaci or abacuses, the area of that hex is 3,113 kilometers square. So I'm not sure what that means for your miles per square. But now the question is because is it the same for each one? So yeah, if someone wants to figure out how many miles, let's see. Hold on, how many? Let's see if I can figure this out. All right, so 3113.187 km in miles. Okay, so according to DuckDuckGo on my phone, 3,113.187 kilometers, square is equal to 1,934.4447 miles square. I don't know if that changes if I put it in square miles. Let me just see. Was it? All right, I'm going to try. I found another calculator. I'm just going to throw this in, which is doing specifically square kilometers to square miles in case it makes a difference to the math. 187. I guess it does. So it's 1,202.008. So, essentially 1,202 square miles. I don't know what that turns out in terms of how wide the hex is, but once you figure that out, you may have solved the universe. Brian, it's quite all right. It's the top of the hour, so this is the moment for derails. This is the moment for all the derailing. So, any last things before I wrap? I actually didn't. Unfortunately, I feel like people are going to tune in here looking for hexcrawling questions, and we covered almost none. We got to look at some apps. And I'm always happy to go other things, especially if no one has any hexy questions for me to ask me, then I have no hexy things to offer. I do like the look of it with all the hexes. Just wish there was a way to get it out. Like the whole map flattened out. Maybe they shall fix that. Let's see what they say here. And this is all name your own price. I'll plug this into the show notes and everything so folks can grab it if they want to. That was called Orbis Multiplex. I know me and a number of other people said, please, 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 please add some exports. There is a Reddit. Let's see if anything So he's got some great devlogs. What's new? Stuff about tessellating hexagonal meshes into a sphere. Yeah, there is stuff about doing, because there is kind of a game or something in there. Flow of the Rivers is about 37 miles. Okay, so that's not too off. Not too off. I don't think anything. So nothing yet about how to export maps. I mean, it's one of those things. I feel. I hope the guy didn't feel bad. I think he took it in stride, because I think one of the funny things was he posted this into, I think it was into ROSR, but it might have been into the procedural generation Reddit or somewhere else. And me and a few other people were like, "Can you export the maps?" Like, we didn't care about the game. we were like, I don't care about the game. Just like, can we get these maps out of here? Which probably is, might be a little deflating. Like, like, really? Because there's a whole thing I got here, and you guys are just, all you guys care about is this one bit of it, and not maybe the rest of it. But it does seem like a really cool tool. So hopefully, I think enough people asked for it that hopefully they'll work on it. 37 miles across, that is, this Fluffy River. And that makes sense. So if you were used to using 24, yeah, you could probably, I mean, the thing is, you can always fudge it, right? I mean, it's just a map. So, maybe if you, by fudging it down to 24 or another rounder number like 36, then maybe your sphere comes up a little bit shorter than, or smaller than, like, Earth norm, but who cares? Who cares? Nobody know anyway. You can just fill it with ocean, or it can be flat, and so it doesn't matter because it's carried on the back of a tortoise or something. Both a map and both a game and a map exporter. Sounds like he could double dip. I suppose he could if he wanted to. Certainly, you could. What's the word? You could definitely, like, fork it. You could definitely fork this into a full-fledged map generator, and then have the game stuff. So then you can just see some details about them going through it. Oh, I'll put it in the chat too. I'll throw it in the chat. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. What's it called again? Orbis Multiplex. It's kind of an interesting name for a game. It doesn't really. And there it is for the folks at home. You can download Orbis Multiplex at https://Robin-Johansson, 2 S's in Johansson.itch.io/Orbis-Multiplex. All right. Any last words before I call this a stream? And of course, on your way out, if you could give this a thumbs up, that would be awesome. Just helps me with the algorithm. And if you feel like subscribing because you listened or watched this far and felt like, boy, I need to have more of this in my life, then subscribing also helps. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So I was light on Hexcrawling questions, but we did get into some apps, which is awesome. Everyone have a great rest of your day, night. Whenever you end up watching or listening to this, I'll figure out what I'm doing tomorrow, and I'll be back. Otherwise, just take it easy, game on, and I'll talk to you later.